It's the Joseph Bristol Show.
If you enjoy the video, hit the like. If you want to see more, be sure to subscribe.
Welcome to another episode of the Joseph Bristol Show, where I just talk about just different various things about news and life and just a lot of different things that I talk about on my show. And today is more like a clips of news though, because I've been meaning to make this video for 2 weeks now, right? So many stuff happening in my personal life. You can check that out on my website, josephrbristol.com. Shameless plug for my JB personal episodes, right, where I go over my personal life. But this clips of news, really, I should have been made it because I've been really thinking and pondering and just wondering. But a lot of things have been happening in the cryptocurrency market, right? So FTX collapsed. Crypto.com holds a huge chunk of Shiba Inu, which is super crazy. Binance might collapse. I think they said who else was it? Somebody else is having issues too. Dang, I forgot the name of this other people, whatever. But a lot of the exchanges is having some problems. They are coming across liquidity problems, right? But this video is not about that. What this video is about is Bitcoin, right? And the US government's holding of Bitcoin, because recently the government has seized more Bitcoin. And so now they have a huge chunk of Bitcoin that they have. Shoot over to the article. So here we're looking at bitcoin.com, right? Which is a pretty decent website to get crypto news. You could probably get crypto news from other places as well. Well, I suggest anytime you're getting any type of news, I'm going to suggest that you get multiple sources of news, right? So don't just watch Fox News and go whatever they say. Watch Fox News, MSNBC, go and watch the Young Turks on YouTube. Watch a lot of different points of view about the same story, and that way you're able to really pick fact from fiction. To me, that's a much better way to pick fact from fiction than to just simply watch one piece of news. So I got 2 news articles up about the Bitcoin holding, right? So the headline: the US government holds over 214,000 Bitcoin. Fed stash equates to more than 1% of the total Bitcoin supply. All right, now why is this important? Because this now puts the United States government as one of the largest holders of Bitcoin on the planet. Now, what makes Bitcoin one of the greatest, the greatest cryptocurrency that ever exists? It's really just one thing and one thing only that makes Bitcoin the king, and it will remain the king for all time. The greatest cryptocurrency ever made. And what that is it is the most decentralized cryptocurrency on the planet. The supply of Bitcoin is spread out so far amongst the world, it is impossible for one person to control Bitcoin. Impossible. That's why the governments are so afraid of it, because it's too spread out, right? So for example, let's say you started your own cryptocurrency, right? And let's say the max supply was 1 million. Automatically 500,000, let's say you give it out to the public. So 500,000 coins, anyone can buy them. And so people just start buying it up and picking it up and buying it up. The 500,000, right? You're giving out some of it as rewards for mining or holding it or whatever it is that you decide. That other 500,000, now let's say 300,000 you own, right? You own 300,000. You own a huge chunk of the max supply of it, which would allow you to manipulate the price of the coin. You would control the voting, the price of the coin, the price of the coin being the price action, how the coin goes up and down, when it goes up and down, based on how much of it you sell at any given moment. But Bitcoin, like I said, because it's so decentralized, because so many people own it, there's so many miners for it, it is impossible for anyone to control the price of Bitcoin. They would have to group together with other people and try to, move the price the way that they want it to move. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up the United States government holding Bitcoin is because, in my mind, I believe that they are trying to accumulate as much Bitcoin as they can in order to do the very thing that I just said. In order for them to try to control Bitcoin, or try to control it as best that they can, they're going to try to hoard as much of it as they can. As well as, let's consider something else. Let's say that they realize, all right, well, we can't move the price, right? In my mind, they would hoard it because they know that they can't control it and no one else can control it. And because they can't stop its inevitable rise to power, the government is saying, all right, well, and when I say the government, I'm talking about the old heads, right? So the McConnells, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden. I'm talking about the old heads, the 80-year-olds, 70, I said 80, the 70-year-olds, the late 60-year-olds that are still in politics, and they've been in politics for 20, 30 years. Those are the people who know how the game is played. Those are the people who sit down in dark corners and communicate with each other on what they're going to do and how they're going to do it and how they're going to move the country in a certain direction, right? At least that's in my frame of thinking, is what I believe that's what they're doing. It's the old heads, the old people. Now, because they realize that they can't stop the Bitcoin train, right? Then their goal is, all right, well, let the government accumulate as much of it as it can. Now, when the price starts going back up over 60,000, it's $100,000, and the United States government owns 214,000 Bitcoins at $100,000 a piece. We're not going to be worried about the debt deficit of our country. We're not going to be worried about who owes what. We owe people. We don't owe anybody anything, because we would have owned a huge chunk of Bitcoin and we could just start selling it and reaping the rewards of that, right? If Bitcoin becomes the currency of the planet, right? So if these poor countries, just like El Salvador did, if these poor countries decide to take on Bitcoin as their legal tender, as their legal money, then the United States owning a massive amount of Bitcoin will put them in the position to be able to negotiate with these other countries and make them move the way that they want them to move without using their military force. Because the United States government mainly gets other countries to cooperate with us the way that we want them to, because we have the military power. So we're able to say, hey, listen, you don't listen to us, essentially we'll beat you up, right? We'll blow up your country. We'll kill your president. We'll assassinate your governors, whatever, right? We basically just threaten other people. Yeah, but this other article on the Observer was saying how there's a law that states that any type of assets that are owned by the government has to be sold off, and it has to be sold off to be used for law enforcement. Now, I don't know how real this law is. I have to look into that. But even if it is a real thing, I'm almost certain that they will get rid of that. They will get rid of that in a heartbeat. And if they don't get rid of that, they would rather take that money and use it on the military as opposed to law enforcement. Although our country is becoming a police state, and essentially they are slowly using the cops to crack down on poor people and brown people, black people, in order to basically enslave us in a sense. But that's like a whole nother video. But I think that what they're going to end up doing is they're going to end up changing up these laws so that they can hold the Bitcoin, they can hold the asset until a certain amount, and then once it reaches a certain amount, then they will sell that asset and use that money for whatever it is that they want to use it for. In which case, like I said, probably to promote the military, to build more weapons, to fund the military and things like that. But really, this video is just me saying that I think that we should pay attention to what the government is doing with this Bitcoin. Not only what they're doing, but how much of it do they hold, right? So how much of it do they have at any given moment? And yes, what they're doing with it, when they're selling it, if they are selling it, where they're selling it, right? So what exchange are they selling it on, right? And then what are they using that money for? How much they sold it for? Like, we need to know all of these things, right? Because it's important. One, the price of Bitcoin, right? And the other part is this will tell us the direction that essentially Bitcoin is going. Will it actually take over the planet as the new gold, right? The digital gold, because to me, Bitcoin is digital gold. It is going to be the money of the future. When we're living on Mars and our species decides to go off the planet and we're like traveling into the galaxies and things like that, we're not going to be using cash. We're not going to do that, right? We're going to use digital money. Digital money is going to become the currency of the future. That is what we're heading to. So people are not going to want to use digital money that is built by a government. People will want to use digital money that's like I don't know how to describe it. That's like protected, right? It's not made by the United States government. A lot of people don't trust the United States government. A lot of people don't trust governments in general. So Bitcoin is the answer to that. It is a money that was not made by the government, or maybe it was, because nobody knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is. Maybe the U.S. government is Satoshi Nakamoto. Maybe the FBI or the CIA created Bitcoin, as some type of experiment, and I don't know. Same thing with the Silk Road guy. Maybe that guy actually worked for them, or maybe they let him do what he was doing just to see how far it could go, etc., etc. They got this guy locked away now, locked up in a cage, hiding. They're hiding this dude. Gave this man like 20 life sentences. Absolutely horrendous. He should be freed. He shouldn't be held up like that for. That's like a whole nother video, right? And of course, anybody who knows me knows that there are certain people that I believe that they paint these people bad so that the rest of us don't ask too many questions. But whatever. So the Bitcoin thing, just pay attention to how much Bitcoin the government holds, what they're doing with the Bitcoin, how much they're selling it for, when they're selling it, because this will tell us if Bitcoin is really going to be the future, which in my heart, I really believe it is. And I tell all my friends, I tell all my family, I tell everybody I meet and I talk to, buy cryptocurrency, specifically buy Bitcoin, buy as much Bitcoin as you can. Your goal should be to own 0.1 Bitcoin. If you go own a whole Bitcoin, that's great. That's the real goal, to own at least one Bitcoin. But if you can't own one Bitcoin, at least own 0.1 Bitcoin. Man, when the revolution comes and money turns fully digital, you will thank me that you have 0.1 Bitcoin. I promise you that. Don't worry about the price of it today, because we're thinking about 10 years, 50 years from now is what I'm thinking when it comes to cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin specifically. I'm thinking 50 years. I'm looking at 10-year cycles on Bitcoin. 5-year cycles, because really it's so brand new. So you want to look at the 5-year cycles and try to run it off that. Thanks for watching another episode of the Joseph Bristol Show, or Clips of News, depending on whatever I called it. Well, Clips of News is in the Joseph Bristol Show. Leave a comment, man. Let me know what you guys think. Let's talk about this thing, right? Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And thanks for watching, man. So remember that we all out here trying to do the same thing. Be happy and survive. Y'all stay blessed.